Hello again, everyone. So now this is the same drawing we just created in the previous video. Now what we're going to do right here is we're going to see the importance and the value of having layers created with the appropriate properties and characteristics. And sometimes as we work on exercises, as I showed in this exercise right here, remember when I went here and I said I have a lot of layers right here, a lot of parts, pieces of information. It's just too much, too crowded. What would I do in order for us to be able to see everything? We have to get rid of some of these parts. Now we're not going to delete them because then we have to recreate again, and that's just going to be a lot of work. So if we go right here so that it's not as complicated, if I look at this object and say, you know what, I have created all these, but I really don't need to see my hidden lines right now. So I could easily go and under my layers right here, I can go and turn off the parts that I don't need. See, the first option says, if I put my cursor right here, it says off, turns off the layer of a selected object. So if I just go and I click on hidden, it goes away and I hit enter. So I know I have created that, but it's not there. If I want to bring it back, I simply go and say turn on all layers. So click and they come back. I can turn off one or I can turn off many. Just clicking, clicking, clicking. See what happens right there. It says object, says object line says current. Do you want to turn it off? Because it's the current layer, it has to first ask you whether or not you want to turn it off, because then what are you going to do if you're working on that one currently, right? So that's what you're going to see. The other ones, the ones that are not the current layer, they turn off automatically. But let's say that I turn them off and I work only on this part, get everything done, and I can simply go and say turn all layers on and they will be there. Then I have a different option. I have an option right here that says isolate. Let's say that I want to work on my hidden lines, on my hidden parts, but I don't want to see anything else other than that. I can go to this option called isolate. I can click on my hidden, enter, and it isolates that particular object. Anything that it's on that layer stays and everything else turns off. Okay, so that's a quick way of seeing the parts that I have and I don't have. If I have the correct lines and everything else, once I check, I can simply go and say unisolate and everything comes back. See, the border and everything went in. Then my next option that I can do is freeze it. If I just go and I said I'm going to freeze this part, and I'm going to freeze this part right here, and I'm going to freeze this part. See, again, the two that were not active, I can go here and I can freeze it. But the ones that are not active, they automatically freeze. But this one right here stays and select an object on the layer to be frozen, or because it is the current layer, it first asks you whether you want that to be performed or not. So in this case, this is where we're working, so we don't want to freeze that. We go right here. And really, the main value or the main advantage of freezing something is because you turn off all those layers when you're working on AutoCAD, and you zoom in and out and you perform all these actions. Every time you do that, the program has to regenerate, and it obviously takes longer for the program to regenerate itself. So when you freeze these layers, they kind of go dormant and they don't take that effort for the program to regenerate, so you're more efficient. Okay, so you can do that as well. You just got to be careful when you turn them off and freeze them, because if you move this part, other things are going to be left behind. So before we do anything else, we want to make sure that we go and thaw all layers. So if we click that, everything comes back. So you can see the advantage also not only of being able to separate all your different components or parts of the final or the overall project, but also being able to turn on and off, freeze, isolate different parts. And then there's one more right here called your lock. If I go and I want to lock a couple of things right here, I'm going to lock my center, okay, and I'm going to lock my hidden lines, okay. And so if I go and I try to do something, like if I'm going to delete something, let's say that I wanted to delete these lines. If I go here, you will realize, see, the circle inside was deleted, but not my center line. Why? Because I locked it right here. And even though I can see it there, when I put my cursor on top of it, you can see that little lock right there. That tells me that layer has been locked. Therefore, whatever I do doesn't perform on that one. I can see them, but I cannot modify them. I cannot do anything to them. So that's also something very important, because we're able to see things, but they won't be affected if we just want to work on something else. You can see that if I go to my hidden line, the same thing happens. But if I go to my object line, that little symbol for the lock does not show up. So once I perform what I need to do, I just go and say, okay, unlock. Okay, unlock my center. I go again, unlock, and unlock this one right here. So now if I go, see, now I can select them again, and I can do whatever, and I don't have that lock symbol again. And of course I will have to go and get my circle right here, so I can always do it in different ways. But in this particular case, just so that we can see, I can go and copy it. Need another one from here, from the center to the center, and by now I'm sure you can see that you can mirror it, that you can undo, that you can recreate many of those things. Okay, so those are the different ways that you're going to be able to make good use of your layers, by turning them off or on, by isolating, by freezing, or by locking. And of course right here you can select any given line. In this case I'm going to do my center line, and I'm going to make that current. See, so that makes my center line current. Or I can always go right here and just say, okay, I want the hidden to be current. I can do it both ways. Okay, so that is how you're going to make good use of your layers. So this is on the first exercise, based on what we did right here. Again, like I said in the previous video, just go ahead and create your right side view, because you don't have that one. Give yourself that 1.5 units distance in between, and then project across and down, across right here, match those 2 points, or those several points, from the top to the front to the top, across through the miter line and down, and then you will get your right side view done. Okay, I will see you shortly on the next video.